Okay, now on to question 2. Understanding that archivists are also working like graduate students and faculty members in a very different environment right now. They don't have access to the same range of materials that they might, and that sort of what archival practices will look like going forward over the next 6 months, a year, that those things are all in flux. What is the etiquette in this new environment? How do students ask for help or extra help, or ask archivists to do things that they might not normally have done as part of their job in the middle of a pandemic?
So I think the first thing to keep in mind is that we want to be able to get you what you need. It just might take a little bit longer, and it might look a little different than what you're used to or what you might expect. So in a normal environment, I would be able to scan material quickly. I would be able to send it off to the patron. It would take a couple of days. Right now, I don't have access to the physical content to be able to do that. In some cases, I can access the digital surrogate remotely because some things have been scanned. In some cases, I'm not able to do that, and I can try to find something that is related or similar for some students in some cases. I also try to work with faculty to say, you know, I know that these are the parameters of your assignment. These are the types of things that I can get, you know, your student, get to your students, you know, with this work. So I'm trying to work with both faculty and students to get them access to materials to meet the requirements for assignments right now. But students need to know that, you know, not everything in an archive has been scanned. That's just not the reality of any archive. So we can provide access to things that have been scanned on a limited basis. It's basically what we have.
We do have policies right now, for example, that you can only digitize a certain percentage of a collection. So, you know, the reality is, I think that some of the policies that we have standing, we're going to be, you know, kind of looking at and figuring out, do they fit in the current realities? So some of the policies we had last year, we might revisit, we might find workarounds for you. The main thing to remember is to reach out and ask, and we'll try to figure something out. But keeping in mind that, like Kristen said, things are different for us too, and we're still trying to figure it out. So we might not have a solution for you today, but if we know that there's an issue that we could address, we're definitely going to try to be doing that. There might be a time in the future where we can go into the building, but all of you could not. So in that case, we have some more options available to us, but we'll still have to figure out how to navigate this new world too. Also keeping in mind that, like, we are working from home as Wayne State employees, but some of the other institutions you might need to work with are furloughed right now. So if you email them and they don't respond, that may be why. I mean, they're not getting paid. So that is the reality for some of the institutions, most likely, you know, things like museums, historical societies, public libraries, things like that. But even when we're in the office, I mean, we're also on committees and like doing professional service and things like that. So just keeping in mind to, as you would at any time, you know, be professional and kind, and we're all doing our best. So I think we'll sort it out the best we can, but we might have an answer today.
Is it best when the students email you in this sort of circumstance, or email whatever archives they need access to specifically ask if they can have something digitized or have something scanned? Or is it just best to say, you know, I plan to access this collection? I mean, I imagine it's different if they know they need 3 folders or a certain set of documents in those folders versus students who say, I know I need to look at this collection and maybe this subset of this collection. Obviously, you're not going to be able to digitize all of that. But is it best to sort of acknowledge that, or just say, I had hoped to look at this in the next 3 months? What might possibilities for access be? Or is it better to come to you having done a lot of research and say, I think I need folders 3 and 4. Can I get them?
I think in our particular case, if they can be specific with what it is they need. I can, access our server and look to see if that particular set of documents has already been scanned. As long as our building remains closed under the governor's stay-at-home order, I can't go into the Reuther and scan additional material at this time, but I can provide access to material that has already been scanned. So if it has been scanned, I can just look on the server quick and tell them, if I can get that to them or not. There's also a rather unique set of documents that I can access, and that is material that has been requested for remote scanning orders over the last 5 years. So they aren't necessarily entire folders. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're just one-offs, a couple pages from this folder, a couple pages from that folder. But it is something that, we could make available to students. So I'm currently looking at ways to do something with that, because in total, it is quite a substantial amount of documents. So depending on how long this lasts and how long we are not able to physically allow people to stay, to come into the building, then this might be something that could prove very useful to students. The stuff that's on our server, for the most part, is stuff that has been scanned to a preservation standard. So there's it's stuff that we would use for reproduction in books or journals, or publication quality scans. This other stuff, for the most part, is research level type scans. Stuff that students would be able to use, obviously, for their research, for projects and things for class. So one of the things that we're going to be focusing on, I think, as a result of this pandemic, is figuring out a way to provide access to digitized material to students that is at an access level that has a lower threshold than what we would have for publishers, for example.
And this may be true for other archives too, right? Like if our students needed to do research at the Bentley, they may not have access in the same way a University of Michigan student might. That institutions, academic institutions, might make their archival material, digitized archival material, available to people within their own institution, but not necessarily available to everyone else. The archives like the National Archives or overseas archives, which is a concern for some of our students, they're all going to have their own sets of policies. And I imagine it's going to be the case, it sounds like for you guys, it's best if someone can come to you and say, I need this specific stuff, because you might actually be able to provide specific stuff. Other places, it might be easier if they go to them, presumably at a collection level, and they can look to see what's available within a particular record group or something. And that's just going to be by institution, I imagine.
Right.
And this, again, why it's so important to reach out and establish a relationship with an archivist.
And because some of our stuff is duplicated in multiple collections, like, for example, our drum newsletters are in 6 or 7 different collections. If a student comes to me and they want drum newsletters, I can tell them exactly where those are, even if they're not asking me for them in a collection that is digitized. I can point to a collection that is. Mm-hmm. So come to us with specific information, and we can try to find that information in a collection that's digitized or partially digitized.
Okay, great. And that sounds like it would be very practical advice for reaching out to any archivist. And I'm going to put in my little "be nice, you want the archivist to like you" bit at the end. And I was saying to Meghan a minute ago, one of the things I have found as a researcher is that you can either approach archivists as collaborators in producing knowledge, which tends to get you good results, or you can turn them into gatekeepers by being rude or demanding or other words I'm not going to say, right? This is often a problem, particularly I think with graduate students who are often have just done a lot of reading and really feel like experts in their topics and been told they're experts in their topics, but don't understand that they are not experts in the collections, that the archivists are experts in the collections and actually know a lot about your topic from different angles than you know about them. And, you know, if you can form a relationship where everyone's working together, that can be really productive and generative. And if you can't, you might not get the boxes you need, depending on not at the Reuther, of course, but depending on the archive, right? This is, you hear these stories. So I probably just being extra aware of that right now when everybody's extra stressed out. If you can approach people as collaborators and asking for help and being as specific as possible versus listing, you know, going with a list of demands and asking when and how they're going to be able to accommodate them. I imagine in certain archives that might get your email responded to a bit faster.
We always try our best, but it's more rewarding to go above and beyond when it is a collaborative. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.